Alright, so in this video I'm going to show you how to go through task 2 of module 3 by outlining the bits in module 2 that you need to look at in order to understand it. Okay, so if we look at module 3 task 2, the first thing it asks us to do is name the Python script dashed line. Okay, so that's the first thing you want to do, is save your script under that name. Remember, that is worth 1 mark. Okay, so next, okay, we need to look at the fact we need a user input. Okay, so if we go back, okay, remember our user input is the number of dashes. Make sure you remember that. So we want the user to be able to input the number of dashes. If we go back to module 2, okay, we can see that I think it's on page 11. Let me scroll. Okay, user inputs. Okay, so if we want the user to be able to put an input, we need to have something that looks a bit like this. Okay, so you can see here, this user input that I've pointed to is called num of squares, and what the user is going to input is the length of the square. Okay, so that's what the user is going to input in this instance. But that enables, this function here enables the user to choose what length of square they wish. Okay, so let's look a little bit further down. If we scroll on to the next page, you'll notice it says type error. Okay, str object cannot be interpreted as an integer. So if we scroll down, you'll see it shows us this one. Okay, number of squares equals int input enter. Okay, enter the number of squares. Look at this one for your module 3. Okay, it's a big key in terms of establishing a code where the user can define the number of squares or the number of dashes. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Okay, so now that we've looked at that one, okay, we've got our user input, we've named our Python script. Let's look at drawing our dashed line. Okay, and we want to use, does it say, go back to module 3 for a second. It says we want to use the pen up, pen down functions. Okay, so pen up and pen down. I'm not going to tell you how to use them because the name kind of speaks for itself and you can figure it out. But we also see a predefined length of the dash and length of the gap. Okay, so let's go back to module 2. Sorry, go back to module 2 and look at what else it does. So if you look at the more beginner page, so page 5, let's say, here you can see this script for drawing a square has a pre-established length of 100 and an angle of 90. Okay, so what we have to predefine is the length of our dash and the length of our gap. So you'll need to give them their own kind of identifiable name and whatever length you need it to be. Okay, once we've done that, we need to actually start creating a function that outlines the steps that our turtle needs to take, where it needs to go. Okay, so this is where we want to define our function. Sorry. Okay, let's go back. So we're defining our function. So in this instance, it's defining the function draw square. Okay, so whenever we run draw square, so this is running it at the bottom here. This top section is only defining it. So if you leave it with just the definition, it's not actually going to run your code. It's only going to define what the code does. Okay, so once we've defined our code, this for I section is called a loop. Okay, this is your loop. So in this instance, each part of this loop is drawing a length of a side of a square. Length of a side of a square, and then we're turning the turtle a certain angle, right? And in this instance, it's going to loop it 4 times. So put your finger in front of your face as if the tip of your finger is your turtle, okay? And we're going to start here. Okay, so I'm going to run it as my code would read it. So I'm doing my first loop. So first I'm going to move forward a length, and that length is given as 100. Next, I'm going to turn left. So I'm going to go left up to 90 degrees. Okay. Okay, so I've finished one loop. Now I've done that, I need to go back to the beginning to start my loop again. So I'm in my second loop now, and my cursor is now facing up, and I need to go forward another 100. Okay, and now I'm turning left 90 as specified, and I've now finished my second loop. So I'm going on to my third loop. I need to go forward 100 again, and then left 90 again. Finished my third loop, I'm on to my fourth loop and my final loop. Okay, so I need to go forward 100 and left again. And you'll notice you've actually drawn a square as the name states in the definition of the function. Okay, so that's how that one works. Next, okay, what we want to do is do that, but loop it for however many dashes we want. So you need to be able to define in your function how to draw a dash and then loop it for however many dashes we want. Okay, so remember before we defined the number of dashes or number of dashes as an input. Okay, we need to somehow relate that to our loop and the loop value. Okay, and remember, always run the function at the again at the end, because this is only defining your function. All right, that's all the hints I'm going to give you, or tips and tricks I'm going to give you for number 2. Please see the next video for number 3.